What's up guys, and welcome back to WBC Builds, and welcome to episode 9 of my Let's Build Walhampton series. This episode is going to feature the area of town known as Passford Basin. This is a beautiful canal docks constructed on the west of the town. We have been here before in a previous couple of episodes, but I've made some modifications and I can't wait to show them off. So without further ado, let's jump on into the time lapse, and there is a little walk around showcase at the end. So let's get into the video. So, the canal docks of Passford Basin are the lifeblood of Walhampton's trading industry. From here we export bricks, coal, birch, you name it, it comes out or goes into these docks. It works in partnership with the docks on the eastern side of town, the Victoria docks, which are around by the train station, that if you have been watching some of my live streams, we built some beautiful warehouses over there previously. Now, these docks were actually first constructed in episode 3 of Let's Build Walhampton, with alterations made to the canal around it in episode 4, Buckland Place. And I've always looked at this area and gone, I'm not too happy with it. And I've done a bit more research on how canal docks are meant to look and the way that basins work and all of that. And I've come to the conclusion that mine was terrible and I had to change it. So what we'll be seeing here throughout this time lapse is how I change up and develop this area a bit more. So on screen now you can see me building the first building we're going to do for this whole area, and that is a lovely red brick warehouse. Sits here on the canal side on the northern section. It's just going to house all sorts of materials before they are shipped onto the canals and taken up the coast or down towards the ports. So the canal itself is actually the Grand Union Canal, and this forms part of a connection between the Westbourne Bay and the bay towards the south, which is actually unnamed still, so we need to get around to naming that later on in our series. So moving on now to the actual canal building itself, you can see I'm correcting the alignment up from Bridge Street all the way down for a section we built during the Buckland Place. What is quite nice is just being able to go around and change areas of town once I've actually started getting some more ideas. Now this brings me on to sort of the next point. The Let's Build Walhampton series will start to wind down a little bit over the coming months, and that is because I have a new town in mind. What I've done with this series and what I've done with this town so far has been sort of to learn and to give myself a bit of a boost into this style. For me, building in this style didn't really happen before I started this town, so it's great to see the progress for myself and just to see how everyone's being accepting and loving this. So what we're doing now is moving on to building the avenue, which is the road that goes over the canal here. You can see the black lines on screen showing the canal route and also the avenue route. And I wanted to tackle something I haven't ever done before, and that is building a canal lock. So canal locks are seen up and down England, in the countryside, and well, the UK in total, and they are forming the ways that canals go up and down hills. So obviously a boat can't go down a hill because it would just be going down a waterfall, and that would be scary, especially when you're in a long boat full of lots of cargo. So locks take all of that vertical change and put it in one point. What I wanted to do here was build a lock so it went down, and that allowed me to have a bridge going across here carrying the avenue over that wasn't too high and didn't look too silly. So yeah, the canal comes down here, and then we have a nice red brick bridge which will cover over it. What I wanted to do for this lock is actually make it as realistic as possible, so I even put in like a little walkway across there, so it's a towpath for the horses to be carried across. Now that is bringing me on to exactly why I built the canal like I have done. So you can see each side of the canal we have this grass path. Now the grass path is a towpath that horses was being used to take the barges up and down the canal. They are very common sight and they still exist along the canals. I believe most canals only have them on one side these days because the canal boats are actually powered. So I wanted to keep that in so it felt a bit more authentic, and because these canals would have been built in the later part of the Georgian period, this canal itself was built in stages. This main bit was built in the 1810s. A lot of the other sections of it were built earlier on in the 1790s and 1780s. So I wanted to make sure this canal carried on to a good point. I haven't actually built the entirety of it yet. We take it up to another lock which takes the canal back up again. This will go off towards the unnamed bay and we'll go around that area to start trading goods. We obviously export a lot of bricks and birch from here, which is the main thing from Walhampton. Now building this canal was quite a mission. You can see I'm having to do it all at a diagonal using World Edit to get some curves. If you guys want to see how I use the curve command for building railways and that, then please check out the video up in the top there. That is a video on how I build railway lines. So we're leaving the canal here for a second and moving on back into town. It's now full of water and looking absolutely amazing with that landscaping done by MS Builds. So it's time to move on now to building the row of shops and pubs along the quay. So we're going to start off here with the Lock and Key. I know, great pun, isn't it? This is based on the Ship Inn on Lymington Quay, and I never built a roof out of granite before, but do you know what? I think it works really well for this mock Tudor building. So, the Ship Inn is really quite iconic to myself. I've been to it so many times, wandered past it countless amounts of times, so I just wanted it in our world of Walhampton just to symbolise that iconic Lymington scene. What I'm also doing is adding a couple of extra shops and then a small little row of townhouses just to help bring this area together. Now if you go to any seaside town or canal town in the UK, you will see very similar buildings that have been built in the 16th, 17th, 18th and even 19th century. So the idea here is the Lock and Key was built originally in the 17th century, but over time it's had alterations added to it, such as in 1850 when it had the large bit on the side added. So here, just building a couple of Georgian townhouses. Now these may look plain and simple, but they work due to their proportions and their just shape, and this is exactly what I love to build, these types of houses, because I just think they look so elegant without really any details into them. So moving on now to doing something I really probably should have done from the beginning, and that is building the roads out of dirt paths and stone and that, rather than actually having them as all paved. Now I've been doing a bit more research into it, and I feel that paved streets, while they did exist in the 19th century and early 20th century, they were mainly reserved for really rich areas, quite rich towns and the town centres. This is a bit more on the outskirts of the town, and it would be taking a bit more traffic, so a dirt path would still work. So moving on now to the last couple of buildings. This one is the Greengrocers that sits on the corner here, built in a beautiful Georgian style again with a nice hipped roof on it. Now I've actually built these buildings before over in a different part of Walhampton, and they are based on a couple in Lymington, but I thought, you know what, while we were doing this whole street scene again, I might as well rebuild them and give them a bit more of an updated look. What I'm doing here is building the fish and chip shop. That's right, we're going to have that iconic British statement here, and this is probably the final building of the area. So we're going to add one more townhouse into that gap, and then the quay street is done. So guys, it's time for us to jump off and go have a little wander around this place, show you a bit more that I've done, a bit more detailing around here. But yeah, so that was pretty fun, so let's go see what it looks like in person. Okay, let's take a little wander down the quay street. So first of all, we have these beautiful buildings here. These are Georgian buildings, as I mentioned in the video earlier on. These are based on a couple in Lymington, and if a few eagle-eyed viewers are around, if we go around that corner there, which we aren't going to do now, there is actually two of these buildings that look identical, and that's because I've actually already built them and I wanted to rebuild them using some of the new blocks and some of the new techniques I've learnt over the years. So here we have these two lovely buildings. The one on the left is a grocer's, or like a sort of general stores. Go in here, there is stepping back out of there, we come on down now to one I actually have placed some interior in. I know, it is madness, isn't it? Oh, such a gorgeous view that. Don't mind the horses, they're just pulling this very, very weird looking coal wagon. This will not win me any prizes for amazing vehicle of the month, but yeah, there is something about it. But anyway, let's come on down here to the building that actually has got some interior along the street. And this is the Codfather. And this is the first fish and chip shop in the entirety of Whiteburg. And this also was the first fish and chip shop. You may be thinking, but there are no fish around here. Well, that canal does go off to a place that has fish. They bring it in. Anyway, let's go on inside and see what's on the menu. Okay, we found out what's on the menu. Just gherkins. But yeah, lovely little affair in here. Nice and light, nice and breezy. You've got the counter. You stand here. You get given your fish. Obviously, it was different times back then. You could just be face to face with these guys. And we get the lovely view there of the Imperial Hotel. Going out the back door, not much to see, apart from what will be some more houses along here soon enough along the avenue. I did start doing some up there, but we'll get around to doing some more. And what I do like is just how I put these bits of fencing along here. Helps break it up a little bit so we haven't got more bricking going on. The backs of these buildings are not very pretty, but that's what happens when you sort of just build quite quickly to get something out. Anyway, so coming back out here onto the quay street, we can look back up there, and not just that, let's close this door. We can go upstairs and see how Mr. Fishmonger Friarman lives. So he has just a single room, very, very minimal, but he does have a lovely view across the town and the harbour, and these beautifully neon coloured market stalls there, using the new woods that I think look quite nice. But yeah, I wouldn't mind living in here. You've got just a little sole fireplace with that sort of utensilness you have on the side. So you've got the poker, the rake, and the brush. That's kind of what I've done there with some chains. Just a bed with a shelf above it. But man, I wouldn't mind living in this little house. It's quite nice. There was going to be an upstairs, but I never got around to doing it. Also, there's no windows up here. So anyway, right, let's get back outside and carry on looking down the rest of the street. Okay, so you find me over here by the market quickly. These market stalls are, again, okay, pretty basic, pretty just straightforward. But I wanted to go for using these new woods. I thought that'd be quite nice to put a bit of colour into this build. Got some hives over here for like packages, and same over here with some barrels for just barrels really. But you do get some really nice views as you wander around the harbour here. I mean, if we push... Oh, there's already one in here. If we get into this little boat, you can see it's quite nice from the actual waterfront. You got over there a couple more houses. We'll get back to that in a second. So I wanted to look at these canal boats, actually, and the warehouse. All of this really does start bringing it all together once you get onto the water. So we're now open up into the actual bay of the basin, and you can see it right there. The ship inn. Oh, no, I didn't mean to call it that, but obviously that's what it is based on in real life. But yeah, we've got the lock and key, spelt Q-U-A-Y, because this is the key, and also that's a lock. I know, that pun, yeah, it's really bad. Don't blame me for it. Blame someone else. I think it was Rayfan, one of our new builders. He came up with that idea. But yep, so these are just 3 Georgian townhouses here. Quite basic in their look, but they work on their proportions, their size, and their scale. And do you know what? I think they look really nice, especially the colouring of that one. That is a light grey terracotta that I just think works perfectly well. Got this nice little small house here. This is just another shop nestled in between the pub over here and these townhouses here. Wander on down. Now this was a truck that was built by one of our builders, CSK. And I love it. It's like a nice little wagon that you would load up some stuff from the canal in. Who's been scattering their boats everywhere? And then we get on to the sort of main article, the ship inn. I keep calling it that because that's exactly what it looks like. Now this is a, well, I would say neo-Gothic or a Gothic revival / Tudor revival building that is based upon the real life one in Leamington. Now this building here, this bit I'm looking at now, was the original building, and then in the 1850s they built on this bit and this bit here. So it's kind of always existed along Leamington Quay, and it's the same for us here. It's always existed on the sort of quay side of the Passford Basin. So we've got a few other little bits to look at quickly. That is the quay itself. You can see I've already parked a boat there because they're everywhere. I don't know why they're everywhere, but that's my own fault. Anyway, so these are quite nice big quay lock gates, and we get on down into the lock itself, and I've already lowered the water level so it's the same as it is over here. It's just a nice little touch. This really does help bring a bit more realism to it, along with this little tow path as well. So you can stand here, walk across if you don't want to walk up onto the main article, and that's the bridge over the canal carrying the avenue. So eventually I will get on to building some more buildings around here. Behind those trees will be a couple of villas, and then those will extend along down the canal. Let's wander on down it quickly. But yeah, just breathe in that sort of stale water smell as you come out into the light and you start seeing the landscaped part of the canal itself. And look back here at the bridge as the Walhampton Monument comes into view, and you just really do get a sort of sense of you're wandering down an English canal somewhere. I got to say thank you so much to MS Builds for coming over and giving me a hand again with the landscaping, because you did a great job. Now let's wander all the way on down here, because why not? And we can come to where it ends, and that is the diagonal lock. I will get on to building that, I think, later on in a stream, because that's quite a big project that either would work for a time lapse, but we sort of didn't need to carry us on during this time lapse. So let's jump back into town just to say our goodbyes. So thank you all for watching. It's been a great episode of Let's Build Walhampton. Can't wait to get a few more of these out before we move on to our new project. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.